Hi everyone, welcome back. In this version or this series, we need to go through and make some modifications to our housing. First of all, if we look at the back side here, these holes right here that lead through to the motor are too long for our screws to make it. Our screws are way too short. So we'll have to embed the head of the screw into the plastic by cutting a bigger hole in. So we'll do that. And then all these hard edges here where these arms meet the housing, those are going to be really weak points, and they're going to tend to wear down and break over time. So what we'll do to make them stronger is round them over so there's a little more material there in the corners. So let's do those first two things. And we're also going to add a little foot to the top here so we can connect it to other things like a servo motor or the thruster test rig. So those are the three main things we want to try to accomplish. So let's get to it. I'm going to grab my new sketch. I'm going to put a new sketch on the bottom. I want to avoid all these planes down here and put it right on the bottom of the actual mount or the housing. And then I'm going to do C for circle and start the circle in the middle of one of these holes and go out to 6 millimeters. The head of these screws are 5.5 millimeters, so 6 will give them a little bit of clearance to go into. And I could just go ahead and make 3 more, but I'm going to come and do a circular pattern instead. I'm going to pattern this circle, and I'm going to pattern it around the center of this main circle. And I want to do 4 of them. Click OK. And I'm extruding already. So E for extrude. I'm going to click on all 4 of these donuts that I want to cut out. I don't know really how far to cut. I want them to be about 2 millimeters from the inside surface. But I don't know how far that is. So a neat trick you can do is I'm going to turn off the motor and the propeller so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to tell it instead to cut to an object. I'm going to tell it to cut all the way through to this face. And then I'm going to switch the to object back to distance, and it will show me how long that is. So in this case, it was an easy 6 millimeters, but sometimes it's a really weird number. And now I want it to be 2 millimeters short of this, so that instead of 6, I'm going to type in 4. And I'm going to say OK. And you can see now what we've done is we've cut recesses here so the screw heads can go in and the screw can embed in there really far before it grabs the motor. Awesome, so that's all done. Now we just need to round over all these hard edges. So I'm going to grab the fillet tool and I'm going to adjust it so I can see as many edges. So I see an edge up here and I can see one down here. I'm going to flip it. I can see one here and maybe I can get this one too. Yep, got that one too. I'm going to come over here. Okay, I can see this edge and this edge. I'm going to flip it. Well, I think I can see all 3 of these edges. So there's one here, and one here. So far I've got 9 edges. I'm missing, these bottom ones. So I'm missing that one there, that one, and one more. That's 12. Now those are the main edges we want to hit for strength, but we're also going to flip it over, look in the front, and we're going to add these outside edges as well that hit the housing. If you get lost in your rotation, hit to the home button, and then you can start rotating again kind of cleanly. Sometimes the view cue gets in a weird space and I just can't use it well, so I hit home to get me back. And then I'm going to zoom in here and get these inside flats as well. When you're all said and done, you should have 17 edges. And the reason you have 17 is you didn't need this one last 18th edge here because it's a flat surface there. All right, and now I'm going to give it, let's say, I don't know, a 2 millimeter round over to see what it looks like. Okay, that's a lot. So maybe we can do 1 instead. There we go, that looks great. 1 millimeter round over looks fantastic. And now you can see kind of what we've done. And we've got this really nice professional looking kind of weld here in the corner. It's going to make it a lot stronger as we go about our things. Awesome. I'm going to do A for appearance. I'm going to add some color because I like that. I'm going to grab this glossy black. Ooh, I like that. Okay, that looks good. And close this out. And then I'm going to turn the motor and the propeller back on. Everything looks fantastic. Okay, so the last thing we want to do now is we want to add that foot to the top of it. So I'm going to create a sketch real quick. I'm going to try and create a sketch, but I can't. There's no way to do a sketch on a round surface like this. So what we need to do first is create something flat that we can put the sketch on. And when we need something flat, we use what's called a construction plane. So I'm going to come up here to my construction plane. There's lots of different kind of construction planes. The one we want is called a tangent plane. What tangent means is that there's something like a line or some object that barely touches the outside of a curve. And so it's going to ask me, what face do I want to be tangent to? And I'm going to go right here to this face. So click on that outside edge, and all of a sudden I can put it there. If I go from the back, you can see what happens is it creates a plane that just barely touches the top of the circle. Now, if I wanted to, I could grab this circle, this little thing here, this dial, and I could put it on any side I wanted to. But I'm going to leave it here right at the top and say, okay. Now I've got something flat I can put my sketch on. So I'm going to grab my sketch. I'm going to put it right on top here. All right, I'm going to project the shape of my overall body. So I want to be away from just the entities, and I want to be the entire body. And I'm going to click on the housing and say, okay. And now I can hide everything. And that's the shape of my housing. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to create a 45 millimeter circle somewhere in the middle. I do not want to place it somewhere special, like locked in the middle. I want it to be where I can move it all around like this. I'm just going to drag it in here inside somewhere. And I'm going to use the tangent tool. Well, actually, before I do that, let's create a point. We're going to need to know where this center point is. So I'm going to scrape across this top purple line until I see that triangle, meaning midpoint. Click to add a dot there. I'm going to take my circle and make it coincident. So I'm going to grab the coincident tool and make the circle coincident. And what that means is the two of them touch each other. Now, if you notice, it's hard to see how it touches this dot, but it also goes above this purple line. We don't want that. So we need one more constraint to get it to work just right, and that is a tangent tool. So I'm going to grab the tangent tool, click on the circle, click on the top line, and now the circle doesn't pass through the purple line. It just comes up and barely touches it right there, then curves away from it. And that's what tangent means. Awesome. And at this point, the circle should be like black instead of blue, meaning it's fully constrained and in place. Next thing I want to do is just grab a line. I'm going to drag it from the circle to this top purple one. It doesn't matter where I start on the circle because I'm going to fix that in just a second. But I do want to keep moving around until I see that sort of right angle 90-degree square show up there. So I know I'm perpendicular. If you've done it right, you'll get these two T symbols, which means it's perpendicular. This blue line's perpendicular 90 degrees to the purple line. All right, now what I want to do is I want these lines to come off really cleanly and smooth. Like they come down here and there's like a kink right here. So again, I'm going to use tangent. So I'm going to click on this line and then the circle. That's going to force it to be tangent. So now it comes perfectly smooth off this circle. Same thing on this side. All right, and now I'm going to turn my the housing back on. And I'm going to extrude this. So E for extrude. I'm going to choose all of these pieces. This is going to be that foot that we're going to be able to screw into and attach the servo motor or whatever we want to it. I'm going to actually do a two-sided extrusion. I'm going to flip it over, and on the top half of the extrusion, this half, I'm going to bring it up 5 millimeters. And then on the bottom half of the extrusion, I'm going to say to object. And then I'm going to click on the outside surface of the housing. And what that does is it projects it down, it extrudes it down in like a wrapping way to barely touch that whole housing. If instead I were just to try to grab it and pull it through a distance, oof, man, that's a nightmare. And I would have to go through a join here. If I were to just try and pull it down to where this corner matches, you can see what it's doing is it's actually extruding into the whole thing. I don't want to do that. I want to do it to object and then just click on this object. And now it extrudes just beautifully. You can see how it just beautifully extrudes just to the right shape to get there. And then I'm going to click OK. And now I've got my little foot that I can put on stuff. Awesome. Next thing I want to do is I want to cut. Well, let's hold off on that actually because I'm not sure how big the hole, where the hole should be placed for the. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. We can put them wherever we want. So I'm going to create a sketch on the foot. And we're going to cut some screw holes in here so that we can screw on something to like a servo motor or something. So first thing I'm going to do is come here to the center, find the center of my circle. Should be, there it is. I see that little circle symbol there. That means I'm in the center point of a circle. I'm going to come up here and see, okay, that's 45. I'm going to back it down to maybe 35. And I'm going to switch it over to being a construction line and hit enter. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a circle. I want a real circle, so I'm going to turn my construction line off. Circle here of 1.2 millimeters. This is just big enough for the screw to go in, but the threads to still hit it and dig into the plastic a little bit. And then I'm going to come here. I want to angle this just right. So I'm going to come create a construction line from the center of the little circle to the center of the big circle, and then straight up to the top of the circle. So now I've got this little pie shape here, and I want this at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to use D for dimensioning. Click on the vertical line, click on the line leading to the circle, and click one more time to place the measurement, and then type in 45 and hit enter. And now I can create a circular pattern of these. I need 4 of these screw holes. So I'm going to do this by create circular pattern. Whoops, not that. Uncheck that one, just that one. The center point is the center of this circle, and I want 4 of them. I'm going to click OK. And right away I'm going to E for extrude, and I'm going to extrude all 4 of these. And I'm going to extrude them almost to the point where they pop out the other side. Which for me ends up being about 9 millimeters. I'm going to click OK. All right, so now I've got little screw holes there. The screws will go in there and just seat really nicely in there. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, so that's for mounting to like the servo motor. We can create something that have screw holes at a 35 millimeter radius. So super easy to do that. And now I need to have something where I can do a quick connect. Well, let's leave that there for now. We'll do one last connection here in the next video. Good job hanging there.